Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. This is Adam with Pixify. We'll be getting started in just a couple minutes. Going to give some more attendees a chance to join. Figure about 30 to 60 seconds we'll be getting started. So appreciate the patience. Once again, welcome everybody to our webinar today. This is Adam with Pixify. We'll be getting started in approximately 30 seconds. Okay, it is that time. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Again, this is Adam. I'll be your host for today's session, talking about our erpCommerce for Sage X3 solution. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into our content today. The presentation will be about 40 minutes. The remaining time to the hour is dedicated for your questions and answers. So if you do have any questions at all throughout this presentation, please do enter those into the questions box, and we'll be sure to get to them at the end of our session. We'd love to see as many questions as possible. Anything that's unclear, anything that we don't necessarily cover and you have questions on, by all means, we encourage you to interact as much as possible. All phone lines are muted, so I will be the only voice you hear for the next 40 minutes or so, but hopefully that's to your liking, and let's get started. So for those of you who may not know, I am Adam Goldschmidt. I am the practice director here at Pixify, creators of erpCommerce. And in today's session, we'll be covering on the following agenda. Number one, we'll talk briefly about who is Pixify and why our erpCommerce solution exists. We'll dive into some of our partners in the erpCommerce solution, Adobe Commerce and Boomi, to the specific capabilities and features that they provide in the context of erpCommerce. We'll talk about specifically what erpCommerce does functionally and all the integration touch points that we facilitate. We'll dive into a couple of actual customer use cases, some customizations that we've done on top of our core solution to support our growing customers who are starting to do significant business online with this platform. And then, of course, we'll get to the questions and the answers at the end. So let's just jump in here and let's talk about Pixify. Pixify really exists. Oops, that's the wrong way. So let's say that again. Pixify is not your traditional e-commerce agency. We're focused on something called erpCommerce. And in the context of today's discussion for X3, that's actually a product, but it really is a philosophy and a way of life. Our focus is on unleashing the potential of our customers' retail, B2B, and B2C e-commerce powered by the ERP systems that run their business, where the ERP is the source of truth that manages all of the data in that online business. And because of our expertise with Sage X3 in particular, with our sister company Net at Work, we really are that one trusted partner customers call on to deliver that unified erpCommerce experience, which is going to enable all of your strategic growth and maximize profitability and improving all of your efficiencies as you start to enhance your e-commerce presence. We built the erpCommerce because we saw a few glaring holes in the market and things that companies needed, especially magnified, obviously, with the events of the last couple of years of the pandemic. But what we're seeing in particular, and anybody here who's running Sage X3, I think at least 3 of these bullets might apply to you, but what we're seeing are companies who are running multiple disconnected and disparate systems, both for their online commerce as well as their back office. So that means you might have integrations with 3PL partners and a CRM and your ERP and your OMS and your WMS and your e-commerce. And these are all disconnected and not connected in a uniform and best practice fashion. These companies also have complex e-commerce and integration processes, in particular with X3, where you have so much flexibility to build out custom workflows specific to your business. We needed, these merchants in the X3 space need an e-commerce solution that can support that complexity, especially with the pandemic. And as we start to move in this new digital era, everyone's just moving fast. Your competitors are going live fast, so we need to deliver that same speed to market and time to value where you can start seeing the revenue come in. We also saw a challenge in terms of there being a lack of pre-built integrations for these basic touch points that all e-commerce companies need. So streamlining your orders and your shipments and your products between the ERP, specifically Sage X3, and your e-commerce storefront was non-existent. Also, a big challenge is that these existing solutions that didn't necessarily have the basics also obviously don't provide customers with the ability to customize the user experience, deep and substantial content management capabilities and personalization tools to optimize the user experience for your customers. And then finally, the challenge that we're seeing in the market before erpCommerce is a lack of tools that enable companies to scale the technology with their growth, expand that website functionality easier. What you need today is not necessarily what you're going to need in 2 years from now, 5 years from now, and it's really important that the solution that we were going to go to market with can scale with our growing merchant customers using it. Another important factor in terms of why we built erpCommerce specifically for Sage X3, knowing that most, if not all, of the Sage X3 users that we talk to have a B2B focus, is the rising trend of B2B e-commerce today. As you can see by some of the metrics courtesy of McKinsey on my screen, B2B e-commerce is rapidly growing, $1.7 trillion in 2021, and it's expected to surpass $4.6 trillion by 2025. 65% of B2B companies are doing e-commerce today. 18% of all B2B revenue is coming through e-commerce. 39% prefer to purchase online, of your B2B buyers prefer to purchase online than the in-person. And then 53% of companies are planning to switch suppliers. And I'm noticing now that my screen might not be showing, or it's not advancing. So we're going to deal with this technical issue quickly here, because it does seem that there might be an issue. So I apologize for the technical difficulties. We'll get that fixed up on the recording. Thank you, please, for whoever put that note in there. We'll fix that for the recording again. But again, back to these B2B stats. 1.7 trillion B2B revenue in 2021. This is growing fast. 90% of B2B buyers would go to a competitor if the supplier's digital channel doesn't meet their needs. And then 53% of B2B companies will be switch suppliers in 2021 compared to 18% in 2020. So what these are telling you now is that if you're not ahead of the trend with B2B e-commerce, now is the time, because it's only growing and your customers are going to demand this from you. So we built erpCommerce, and what is erpCommerce? erpCommerce is an e-commerce solution that enables companies to launch fully transactional, and that's both B2B and B2C, and fully ERP integrated websites, the ERP here being Sage X3, that leverage market-leading e-commerce and cloud-based integration platforms in 60 days or less. We're enabling companies to go live fast and address their immediate needs, but aligning ourselves with partners and tools that can allow these customers to scale and customize and enhance their business for whatever the future holds. So if, for example, there's a new brand or a new business model or a new channel that needs to be added in, the e-commerce solution needs to be able to support that. And for that reason, we call erpCommerce a forever platform. Some X3 customers already using erpCommerce, we're showing those on the screen. I won't necessarily list them all, but we did launch erpCommerce for Sage X3 in May 2020, so we're celebrating our 2-year anniversary for Sage X3. We've been on the Sage US marketplace since November 2020, and we'll be expanding internationally shortly. And obviously, we have way more customers than we're showing on the screen today, but I also wanted to share some customer feedback that we've gotten here. These are a few of our X3 customers using erpCommerce, and the common denominator across all of these quotes is that erpCommerce is the solution that these companies are using to grow their digital footprint. They're looking at a robust feature set. They're looking at flexible and customizable integrations that have tons out of the box that can facilitate those immediate needs. And again, the value-added services that no other solution, especially for Sage X3, can provide. So let's dip in a little bit and focus on Adobe and why we've aligned ourselves with Adobe Commerce, not to be confused with Adobe Open Source, which is the free proof of concept version, if you will, of Adobe. We're talking about the enterprise level, formerly known as Magento Commerce. Adobe Commerce is our e-commerce storefront. And we've done this and aligned ourselves with Adobe for a few reasons. Number one, they are squarely in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, Forrester Wave, all of the market analyst reports on e-commerce technology, in particular B2B. 5 years running, Adobe Commerce is in that leader segment. There is a global and complete ecosystem of applications and partners, enablement resources that our customers and merchants selling on Adobe Commerce can take advantage of, giving you the flexibility to scale your organization and to scale your website as you see fit. You own the technology. This is a completely owned solution by your customer, and you have every ability to go and take whatever work you want in-house to other agency partners. We have several of our customers who work with multiple agencies for specialized services on their e-commerce website. And because we're using a market-leading open source platform that is optimized for that collaboration, that's why we're bringing Adobe Commerce to the table with erpCommerce. Another important factor here is the focus on B2B. And I'll just address the elephant in the room, but Shopify comes up in a lot of our conversations. Everyone knows who Shopify is. If not, they are an emerging e-commerce platform. But a big challenge with Shopify is that they don't have any out-of-the-box B2B functionality. If you want to sell B2B on Shopify, you're going to have to bring in a bunch of extensions or customize that functionality. With Adobe Commerce, we have deep B2B feature sets included out of the box. And what that allows us to do is maintain your ERP, your Sage X3, as that source of truth that runs the online business, because the integrations are predictable. We know exactly how Adobe Commerce is going to be structured in every B2B instance, so we can create optimized workflows available in a subscription pre-built package, as opposed to having to develop these integrations from the ground up each time over. This is also a very heavy slide here that talks about some of the details that Adobe provides as well, but I'll highlight some of the bullets. Number one is that you'll be able to engage your customers with powerful shopping experiences through mobile-friendly, mobile-first interfaces, so that no matter what device they're accessing the site from, they'll have full access to all of your content through those responsive themes. Through Adobe Sensei technology that you have access to through the platform, you're able to personalize the content and the promotions that your customers see, so that they're seeing the content that's most likely going to convert into a sale. You have the ability to manage every level of the content, your logo, your color scheme, your fonts, any banners, images, landing pages that you want to create through a code-free drag and drop page builder tool that Adobe Commerce provides. Another strong selling point is the exponential growth that you can enjoy through Adobe Commerce. Number one, you have the ability to sell multiple sites through a single interface. So if you have multiple brands, I always like to use the example of Gap, Banana Republic, and Old Navy. Those three brands have three separate websites. With Magento, with Adobe Commerce, you're able to integrate through one database. So it's a single instance of Adobe Commerce integrated to your Sage X3 ERP, and then you're able to have separate multiple websites running off of that same license, that same account. With other platforms, you're going to have to integrate your ERP with each site individually and then coordinate those. Tremendous value add, especially for Sage X3 users. We're set up to sell globally through different currencies and tax policies. You have the ability to take advantage of Adobe's dedicated cloud hosting support, which offers optimal performance, 99.99% uptime, and all of the tools you need to run a high-performing, high-volume, high-revenue website. And then all of the native features for promotions, for coupons, for searching capabilities, cross-sells, upsells, return processes, quote processes, all included in the platform. So because of that robust feature set, it became a natural choice for us to use Adobe Commerce as part of our erpCommerce solution. When we look at Boomi, that handles the integration side of things. That's what's going to connect all the dots between Adobe Commerce and your Sage X3 ERP. And why is that better than some of the other solutions that may be out there? I'm glad you asked. Number one, just like Adobe is an open source platform with full customization capabilities and flexibility, as well as the fact that our customers own their technology. You own all bits of that code by paying your license fee. With Boomi, in a sense, it's an open source integration, if you will, because we're not using a proprietary tool. We're using pre-built connections that we've developed that you can build out on top of. If you have in-house technical resources that want to build out their own integrations or customize the integrations already built, if they get enabled on Boomi and are able to work with the technology, you can support those integrations in-house or again with other partners if you see fit. The challenge with a point integration is that you won't be able to go to other resources to support that. And with Pixify, we do not want to be irreplaceable in the ERP Commerce equation. We want you to be able to use ERP Commerce and work with whatever partners you want on top of that, as opposed to forcing you to work with us. And that's very unique when you compare things to what else is in the market. Again, we're using a Gartner Magic Quadrant, Forrester Wave leading iPaaS solution and integration platform as a service. Boomi is squarely in that quadrant for the last 8 years, and it's not only going to support your needs to integrate with your e-commerce business, but in a sense serves as an integration hub for your entire business. So any other tools that you need to integrate with, whether it be a CRM or if you have 3PL distribution partners that you need to interact and exchange data with, you can build all of your integrations across your entire organization out on the Boomi platform. And again, because of the widespread use of Boomi, there is a huge community of resources that know the platform, training resources so that our customers themselves can build out those integrations, and we'll help enable you with these tools to get there. So we take Adobe Commerce, we take Boomi, and obviously you have Sage X3. So the next section of our presentation is going to focus on what specifically ERP Commerce does. So we know what Adobe does, we know what Boomi can facilitate. What specifically are we building into our solution that you get with our subscription? So first off, touch points. It's a word you're going to hear a couple more times as we go through the next section. But what you're looking at on the screen are the standard touch points that are a part of our ERP Commerce solution. These are all of the data layers that get exchanged between Sage X3 and Adobe Commerce. And as you can see, all of them flow from the right side to the left. And what that's showing you, again, is that the data originates out of X3, and then that comes across to Adobe Commerce where your customers interact with it. You'll see that the order details have arrows pointing in both directions, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So let's look into each of these individually. First off, we have our products integration. So you're going to be creating products in X3. We don't want you to have to do that in multiple locations. When you create a product in X3, ERP Commerce will automatically create that product in Adobe Commerce. It'll be connected to the Sage identifier, the Sage ID for the product, all of the SKU information, descriptions, product names, and then any images or other data that you have in X3 will be transferred over to Adobe Commerce and create those products automatically. If you make any changes to those products in X3, changes to those products will also be synced over to Adobe and update those records. The reason why this is important is that we're going to connect in through the products to pull pricing and inventory in a little bit. So this is a critical touch point to establish that basic connection between the SKUs that you have on your website and those in X3. So then we move into the inventory, and for inventory, we're going to be able to streamline that order process for your customers by consolidating the inventory you have in X3 and determining what should be available for your customers to purchase products on your site. So if you have any rules in terms of buffering or dedicated warehouses that you're fulfilling e-commerce from, all of that business logic is factored into the integration. And we also have configurations in place that can support multiple warehouses and customer-specific allocation business logic that would be managed in X3. When we get into our use cases in a little bit, we're going to talk about a customer of ours who has some sensitivity around multiple warehouses and how they handle that inventory, and we'll talk a bit about how they handle that through our tool. The next level of it, where we're using that product data is in our product pricing. And what we want to do here again is to optimize that B2B customer experience to show them their custom pricing that is already in X3. You're managing all of your customer price lists in X3 already anyway. And the way that ERP Commerce is configured is that anytime we load a product or a list of products on the screen, it's going to ping Sage X3 to say, what should this customer be paying for this product, and display that price based on the data that already exists in X3 as that source and truth. The next touch point that we'll cover on is our customers touch point. And that's really two levels of information. You have your customers and your contacts that live in Sage X3. Those are going to automatically create company records and customers. The customers are the Adobe Commerce version of the contact, and those are the individual users within that B2B organization who will have access to your e-commerce website. The native for erpCommerce is that all B2B users must be created first in Sage X3. Their ship tos, their bill tos, all of the contact information assigned to that customer. And then we will sync over and create the individual user accounts for them. The customer will get an email that lets them know an account has been created. Here's how you can update your password. And then again, once they log in, we know who they are, we know what products to show them, and we know what pricing to give. When we talk about B2C, there's no need to do an integration for customers and contacts. Those accounts do get managed by the e-commerce store, and then the orders get sent down into a dedicated single customer that holds all of your B2C orders, but there are customizations to support creating individual accounts in X3 for your web customers that originate accounts there as well. But again, the focus here, source of truth for your customers, your B2B customers, and your B2B contacts is Sage X3, and those user accounts, company accounts get created automatically. Once your customer accounts are in and all of your product data and your inventory and your pricing is, now it's time for your customers to place orders. What's super unique about erpCommerce, and there's no other integration solutions for X3 out there today that can say the same thing, is that we facilitate a bi-directional order sync. What that means is that any orders that are placed on the e-commerce website will be sent into Sage X3 so that they can be fulfilled. But similarly, if any orders get entered directly into Sage X3, those orders also would be synced over to the website, which will give your customer full visibility into their full, both online and offline order history. This is an especially important touch point given what we've been seeing with how some of our customers go to market. A lot of erpCommerce users will start out launching erpCommerce as a customer portal. They may not be ready to take orders yet operationally, but they want to give their customers that self-service capability to be able to download an invoice, to be able to download shipping information, to view their order history without having to call into customer service every time they need that information. So because of the fact that we're facilitating this bi-directional order sync, even if there's no commerce taking place on the website yet, your customers will still be able to log in and view critical account information and increase operational efficiencies in working with your sales organizations. We also have some workflows in place to support payment on account and credit cards. So based on the company's setup in X3, we'll be able to set up terms on the website and enable them to sorry, I'm hearing a little background noise. I'm not sure why that's coming through, but we'll enable them to pay on terms on account if they have credit available. If they don't have credit available, we can block them from placing their orders, and we even have overrides in place that can allow the customer natively to order above their credit line. So there's a robust feature set there, and when we demo this for you, we'll be sure to show that as well. Once we have all the orders syncing back and forth, there's two more pieces of information that we're going to want to get into Magento from X3. And again, there might be way more than that, but on the standard integration, every company, once you have that order, you're going to need to show your invoices, especially for your B2B accounts who are paying on account with terms. When the order is created and it gets invoiced out, we're going to bring that invoice from X3 over to Magento so that the customer has access to view the invoices associated with their orders. And then as those orders fulfill, the shipment records that are created in X3 will also sync over to Adobe Commerce, creating tracking information emails that go out to the customer. So we'll know what items are going out in what shipments from X3. We'll then create shipment records automatically in Adobe Commerce that your customer will then be aware as to where their order hit is currently sitting. Is it processing? Is it shipped? What's the tracking number? What's in the box? All of that information gets synced over. And those are the 7 standard touch points that are part of our core solution. But it's also really important, worth noting, that we offer several custom touch points as well. We've done several custom touch points for many of our customers based on some specific business use cases. And the reason why we haven't standardized that as part of the standard offering is because the workflows to support this really vary very much from customer to customer. No two customers handle RMAs exactly the same, or the quote to order process exactly the same. So on top of our core solution, we do have the capability to build out additional touch points to support any of these functions that you see on your website and then some. The one that I wanted to talk about is authorized users and permissions. Again, Adobe Commerce offers the ability for your B2B customers to have different capabilities based on the role that they have in your organization. And we have the capability to leverage those permissions and key in automatic role definition based on the role that those contacts are assigned to in Sage. But again, because every organization uses different roles and wants to extend different capabilities, that's one of those custom touch points that we can develop on top of the core solution. So let's get into the full solution, right? So we've talked about all the bits and pieces. We've talked about the touch points, Adobe, Boomi, etc. So let's talk about what the erpCommerce solution includes. And we sell this as a SKU. There is a way for us to do this as an integration only if a company is already running Magento and needs us to put this together. But assuming we're getting started from square one, our erpCommerce solution includes a fully functional Adobe Commerce web store. If you look in the top right corner, that's a sample of the theme that we use, the native theme, but every single element of that screen, both for mobile and desktop views, are customizable and configurable through the Adobe Content Management System. The logo, the color scheme, the font, the images, the button styles, all of the promotions and the layout between the header and the footer, all customizable through the Content Management System. Included in your license will also be a Boomi license. So we will procure that Boomi license for you, assuming you don't have one already. That'll allow us to acquire the software to facilitate the integrations between Sage X3 and Adobe. You'll get those 7 standard touch points that we spoke about for customers or bi-directional orders, shipments, inventory, product invoices, and pricing. And what we'll also do as part of this as a value add is install an extension to Magento directly. It's called the Pixify erpCommerce plugin. And what that's going to allow our customers to do is manage the integration in a code-free way. We spoke about how you can enable your team and your resources to work on Magento, to work on Boomi, but we realize that most organizations don't want to do that. We'd like to give you the easy button, if you will. So what we've done is we've created an interface within the Magento admin that allows you to update all of the settings and configure all of the settings for your integration to the level of how frequently you want to sync an inventory, what email a customer should get when an account is created, what happens, what message a customer gets if they hit their credit limit. All of that is customizable through our plugin, which is as easy to operate as updating the settings on an iPhone. If you know how to update the settings on your iPhone or on your Android device, you'll be able to learn how to configure your erpCommerce integration rather simply. We'll also obviously connect into Sage X3 and configure all of that. If you do work with a partner who's not net at work, we'll obviously have open dialogue with them. More often than not, the partners will bring us in to do that part of the installation. But obviously, if they want to lock that down and they want to do the installation, we'll provide them with a full guide to do that themselves. We'll support this annually, no matter what. If there's ever any issues with your integration directly, if something's not working properly, we will fix that. We're also making investments in staying ahead of the curve with Magento in terms of version upgrades. Magento releases 3 to 4 version upgrades a year. We're making sure at all times that erpCommerce will be compatible with those versions, regardless of what's going on. The one thing I'll highlight that our SKU does not include, and that's a separate point when we do start to get engaged with the customers, that we will have to bring Adobe Commerce into the discussion. We are unable to include the Adobe Commerce license costs in our annual subscription. That would be paid directly to Adobe, and we would facilitate that conversation for you, get you in touch with the right people, and put you on the right plan. But at the same time, once you have your Adobe Commerce license and your erpCommerce license, you have everything you need to start selling online in 60 days or less out of the box. And of course, the platform and tools to scale and customize your solution for your business. So before we get into the questions, the last part of this, I wanted to talk about a couple of customer case studies and some use cases and how businesses are using erpCommerce and in ways customizing erpCommerce. And this will show you how flexible and powerful the solution is. So the first one I wanted to focus on is a customer of ours called Advanced Nutrients. Advanced Nutrients sells fertilizers and nutrients to the cannabis grower industry. They do not sell cannabis, but they help people grow it. And they have a bunch of SKUs, a bunch of items that they sell, which you cannot sell into certain states, specifically Oregon and California have certain restrictions based on shipping and chemicals and things like that. So those products are clearly identified in X3 as to what those are. And advanced nutrients required an experience for their customers that would not allow customers shopping to those locations to get those items. So for example, if they are going to be shipping an order to California and we know that it's going to California, no reason to show them an item in the product list that they can't get. So what we did here for advanced nutrients, based on the data that we're pulling in both about the customer and their ship to locations, and then on the SKUs as far as which ones are restricted and which ones aren't, is we developed a module, and I show a little bit of a screenshot on the screen, where you're able to actually toggle the address. So if a customer has, let's say, 4 or 5 ship to locations that we're syncing over from Sage, they're going to toggle which location they're shopping for, and then as they toggle to the different locations, the product assortment will update. So if I change to California location, that screen will refresh and make sure that it's only showing me products that I can send to California. If I then update it to the New York location, it'll refresh again and give me the full catalog of everything that I can order to New York, etc. So again, we're using the tools that are already in place and the data that we're already syncing for the products, for the customers, for the ship tos, and then creating a module on the front end that can leverage that data as the source of truth to show customers the appropriate product catalog for their order. Coincidentally, the next example I'm going to show you also involves a toggle, but for a different purpose. And what we're going to talk about here is a different use case, and this is for a customer, ACD Distribution, who has a situation where they have multiple customers. You'll have contacts assigned to multiple customers. So ACD is a leading distributor in the toy and hobby gaming industries. Many of the board games, etc., that you would buy in stores are distributed by ACD. Their B2B web users, which are the individual users / email addresses, can be assigned to multiple customers / companies in Sage X3, and therefore, and the inventory and pricing that they see is going to be based on the company that they're shopping for. So this presents a challenge because the customer is going to log in with their email address, and potentially erpCommerce won't know what to tell them, because if they're with 2 companies, do we show them the products for company 1 and the inventory for company 1, or do we need to show them the products in the inventory for company 2? Magento also allows, is natively set up that the email address is the unique identifier for your user accounts. So we couldn't, in a way, set them up with 2 separate accounts for those different businesses, again, because that single user needs to have a single account. So what we've been able to do, leveraging a lot of the Magento feature set, Boomi feature set, and again, the data that we're bringing in from our source of truth X3, is to bring in all of the companies that an email is associated to. So we've configured erpCommerce for ACD that every individual user can be assigned to multiple companies. And then just like we did the toggle for advanced nutrients where you're going to set the ship to location, in the top right corner of the ACD website, you'll be able to select which company you're shopping for. And then based on the company you're shopping for, it'll again update the products and the inventory available to you, the pricing available to you to make those purchases. So again, we're talking about things that have actually been greatly simplified through the depth of the platforms and tools that we're using to build these custom functionalities for these customers that delivers tremendous success. This is going to be the last slide that we look at before we get to questions. So if you do have any questions, please do, again, feel free to submit those into the questions area. But I did just want to cover on, again, why we've built erpCommerce, why this solution is making the traction that it is in the market today, as well as why we position ourselves to be the top e-commerce solution for Sage X3 and in general for the ERP space. So again, with erpCommerce, you're getting 0 to integrate commerce in 60 days. Your time to value is expedited, and you can launch your erpCommerce site that's fully integrated to your ERP very, very quickly. There's a pre-built but fully customizable and extendable integration platform that's going to allow you to use this platform to support all of your integrations through your organization. Both platforms and erpCommerce in turn has a huge ecosystem of resources that know the tools that we use and work with, and market-leading, industry-leading solutions that have deep extensions, global capabilities, limitless customization and configuration capabilities. And something that we didn't cover on before, and I meant to say it, is that this is business process-driven technology and not technology-driven business processes. We want to look at the way you're doing business today and build the e-commerce experience around that, rather than create an e-commerce experience and transform the way that the business needs to work around that. So when we look at the customizations and we look at the standard touch points, all of those are built with that in mind. And then again, finally, with erpCommerce, why our customers are winning is because that ERP is the source of truth that runs the online business. Companies are finding tremendous operational efficiencies in managing their websites, managing their orders, and managing their customers through erpCommerce. And with that, let's go into the questions. So feel free to submit those through the questions box if you haven't done so already. We've got, I finished a little bit ahead of schedule, so we'll take as many questions as we have. We have anywhere from 5 to 25 minutes here, but we've got 3 in so far. The first question comes in from Jan. What payment types can you work with? So without some content there, I can talk to you about Magento's native payment methods that they accept, and then how we can handle that through X3. So out of the box, Magento has native integrations to a few credit card gateways, payment processors, those being Braintree and PayPal. So if you want to process your transactions through PayPal or Braintree, the integration is already connected in Magento. You put in your account credentials and everything is streamlined. There's also several market-leading gateways that have extensions on the Magento marketplace that are relatively easy for us to download, import, and configure as well. The most common ones there being Stripe and Authorize.net. If we're using any of the native Magento integrations for payments, and we're talking specifically about credit card payments right now, though these do support ACH and all of the digital wallets, so we're lumping those all into that credit card bucket. If you're using any of the native Magento integrations or any of the marketplace extensions for a reputable partner, there are some marketplace extensions that maybe aren't so dependable, and those come up from time to time. That's actually included in your license. Configuring that payments integration for credit cards is included in the annual license, and then when we create the orders for those credit card processing accounts, when the orders are created and we process the card when the order is placed, we'll actually create the orders as prepaid orders with payments applied in X3 already and send down all of the transactional information with that. As far as other payment types, yes, we can support all digital wallets. Again, through the gateways generally provide that capability. You have the capability to accept payment offline, so you can bill on terms. And again, we'll look at the terms for that specific customer to see if they're allowed to do that or not. Not all B2B customers will necessarily get those terms if you don't want to allow that. And if that doesn't answer the question enough, let me know in the chat or the comments, and I'll try to get back to it at the end and give you some more detail. The next question comes in from Mary. Can my technical team run the integration once it is set up? The answer to that question is 100% yes, provided that your technical team is versed in the technologies we use. With an Adobe Commerce license, your team will have access to all sorts of certifications and enablements, both with Adobe and then with your erpCommerce license, you'll have access to all of the Boomi educational paths and certifications. So as long as the resources have the underlying skill set, technical skill set to manage those platforms, you will have full access to all of the code and nuts and bolts of the integration to modify and append and do what you need with it. As long as you're paying your annual license, you can use that however you see fit. Obviously, if you're making changes to the core solution, that does certain things with the warranty and our ability to support that. But generally speaking, that's a discussion we have if and when you do decide to support it in-house. So again, Mary, I hope that answers your question. The next question is from Kevin. In the erpCommerce model, X3 Boomi Adobe Commerce, is X3 assumed to be the PIM? This is a great question, Kevin. I'll just keep reading it though. How would a separate PIM solution fit in this model and Pixify's participation of its integration and support? So Kevin, again, great question. For those who don't know, a PIM is a product information management system. So if you do things like getting content out to Amazon or third-party marketplaces and drop shippers and things like that, generally speaking, an organization will use one of these platforms. A popular one is Salsify that we've come across a couple of times. So what we were talking about earlier is that when a product is created in X3, we'll automatically create that product record in Magento. That's only part of the creation of the product though. So all of the data from X3 will sync over, but in the case of an organization that's using a PIM, there's going to be a lot more data on the products that live in the PIM. You're going to have descriptions, you're going to have images, you're going to have videos, you might have ingredients if you're in like a food and beverage industry. You might have regulatory fields that certain regulatory compliance types of organizations need to see. So all of those additional fields, your marketing data, your SEO content, etc., is going to live in a separate system. That's not going to live in X3. So what we'll do in that type of situation is one of two things. Either Magento operates as the PIM. We'll bring in what we call the skeleton data from X3 to create the product data. And when there's an organization who does not use a PIM, needs to get the rest of that data in, they'll just do it directly through Magento. But if you use that PIM, we can then configure exports out of that PIM. We can use Boomi to facilitate the integration and build a connection there, so that once we create the product from X3 so that we can connect for the inventory and the pricing information, that product won't be enabled on the website until we hit the PIM system to get the rest of the product data in. So you can still operate all of your product data that doesn't live in X3. Your PIM can be that source of truth, and then we integrate the PIM into the workflow as well, so that we're getting some of your product data from X3, some of your data from the PIM. But again, if there's an organization not running one of these systems, we'll get whatever we can out of X3, and if there's additional information to enter in before we want to list those products on the site, that can be done directly in Magento. So hopefully, Kevin, that answers your question there. The next question is, does your platform work with Shopify/Shopify Plus? That's a really good question, and I didn't focus on it earlier on, but on the slide where I was showing our customers, we actually did mark off that one of our customers in particular on the X3 side does run Shopify Plus. We can support integrations to Shopify Plus through erpCommerce, through Boomi. Obviously, Adobe Commerce doesn't get involved there because Shopify replaces Adobe Commerce. We've done these integrations before. It's just not standardized into a subscription the way that we have for Adobe Commerce because of some of those limitations on B2B capabilities that Shopify has and the variances that we might see from site to site in terms of how we would need to integrate from a B2B perspective. We haven't standardized our solution there, but we definitely have proven that we can use the tools that we have to create those integrations and workflows. And we also already have the X3 side of things built out into Boomi. So rather simple, but again, we handle those more on a case-by-case basis rather than through our standardized solution. I see one more question in there for now. So again, if anybody has any more, please pop them in. I do see that we still have quite a few attendees on. Justin asks, can you talk about B2C volume and performance? How does the integration scale up when dealing with thousands of orders per day? So that's Adobe Commerce, and that's a really good question. So I'll talk to you about this from the perspective of Adobe Commerce, and then I'll talk to you from the perspective of the integration. Adobe Commerce, the way that their pricing works and the way that their cloud hosting works is going to generally be based on your volume, and they're going to look at your total revenue online and your average order value, and thereby they'll know about how many orders you get, and we'll look at certain trends in terms of how things peak and spike, and then they're going to put you on an appropriate tier that provides the infrastructure needed to support the business you plan on bringing into the platform. So when you have an Adobe Commerce license and you're hosting with Adobe, all of your performance, your scalability is built into that license. You'll get load balancing capabilities. You'll get a CDN so that your images don't have to live on the web server directly, and they can be served in in a high perform in an efficient way. There's caching so that we can bring, once content loads, save that in the browser for a period of time so that we don't have to reload it each time. All of that is built into Adobe's cloud hosting, and that's going to ensure the performance of the website. When we talk about the integration, you may have thousands of orders, thousands of products, thousands of line items on orders that need to transmit at any given moment. So if you get 1,000 orders in an hour and you're syncing orders every hour, that's a lot of data that needs to hit X3. And in the case of many integrations, that could be a problem. Not the case with erpCommerce. When we built erpCommerce, we did heavy stress testing on erpCommerce. We can actually accept up to 10,000 records per second. So we are yet to come across a company to break the system. We have some of our customers, I can't say which one, doing upwards of $150 million online a year. And obviously the site performed pretty well to support that. What I will also say is there's a great case study on our website from a customer of ours called T3 Micro. They don't use Sage X3, full disclosure. They use a different ERP. I'll let you figure that out when you look up the case study. But the entire story is about how erpCommerce saved Thanksgiving. They used to approach the cyber weekend with great trepidation. The previous solution that they were running with the integration was always unable to keep up with their volume. It would go up 10 times on that holiday weekend. Instead of doing 1,000 orders, they would do 11,000 orders or something like that. And they would have failures and breakages all the time and constantly having to leave the Thanksgiving meal and troubleshoot and really not enjoying that holiday. 2021 was their first year on erpCommerce. They got their same expected spikes in volume, 10 times the level of traffic, not a single error throughout the entire cyber weekend. And it was actually one of the most fun case studies to write because in speaking to our contact there, she really took it into that direction. We just wanted to talk about the technical details, but she started to talk about how we really saved the holiday. And it's a great story, and it's because of the performance and the volume that we can handle both through Adobe and through the integration. So Justin, I hope that answers your question. Obviously, if we have capability to talk privately, and you have some specifics that we wanted to get into there, not answering it in a vacuum, by all means, I'm able to do that as well. Isaac asked, how much does Adobe Commerce cost? Good question. I guess I was just talking about how their pricing model works based on revenue, and it's based on average order value. I'm actually not able to tell you exactly how much it costs. Their pricing does include hosting as well, so any infrastructure you need and support to that infrastructure, you don't need to have resources managing that. You don't need to find another partner or have another bill. I will tell you at the floor, for some of their lower tiers, you should expect to spend at least $30,000 annual. But then again, once you start getting into the the multi-million tiers and things like that, it goes up, but not necessarily to that rate. Obviously, the more volume you're doing, your license fee will account for a lower percentage of that. It's not a rev share model. It's just about getting you the infrastructure and hardware and software that you need to support the volumes that you expect, as well as the support for that infrastructure as well. Isaac asked another question. How much does Boomi cost? Again, Boomi at list price is far less than what you're paying for in your erpCommerce license. We do include the Boomi as part of our annual license. Our annual license costs $42,000. That includes the website, that includes all of the features that we talked about out of the box, and as well, it includes your 2 endpoint Boomi license, and if you needed to expand that to take on additional endpoints to support other integrations, we can help you with that, and there's some additional costs for those additional endpoints if those are needed by the business. Does erpCommerce work with ERPs other than X3 and e-com platforms other than Adobe Commerce? So it's important again to explain erpCommerce, the product, and erpCommerce, the philosophy. erpCommerce, the product, is built for 2 ERPs now. We have one for Sage X3 and one for NetSuite. And those are the standardized integrations with the touch points, with all those standard workflows that go back and forth with Adobe Commerce. We do have the capability to integrate with other ERPs and other e-commerce platforms, but we handle those more as one-off projects. It's not a standardized subscription where everything is built already. While there are certain elements that we can take advantage of and replicate when we build out for these platforms, we will do a little bit more of an individual company-specific discovery and quote that out as a project instead. But if you are looking at other platforms, I definitely would be interested in understanding some of the reasoning behind that. Magento is not a fit for everyone, and erpCommerce is not a fit for everyone. So it is really important to look at this, eyes wide open. So again, Kevin, if I can help you in any way there and give you more information about how we can support that, please let me know. Okay, it looks like we got through all our questions. It looks like we have 12 minutes left, so I'll give another 15 seconds for anybody else to pop something into the question mark. Otherwise, we'll all get to feel those feelings of yesteryear when we were back in school and the teacher lets us out of class a little bit early. But I am glad to give everyone back the time. I hope that everyone found this session to be educational. Of course, if you have any further questions beyond this session, please do not hesitate to reach out to me anytime. My contact information is on the screen. It'll be included when we send out the recording as well. Follow Pixify, follow Net at Work on all of our social outlets. But again, drop me an email, shoot me a question. Anything you guys, any way I can help you, in any way we can help you, please let me know. Thank you for attending, and we hope to see you all very, very soon. And then as a footnote, I guess I should apologize for the technical difficulties with my presentation earlier, but hopefully everyone got the point. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.